Hello, and welcome to our webinar, The 5 Market Trends Independent Consultants Need to Know in 2013. My name is Jamie McDonald, and I am the Marketing Manager here at MBO. Today, I am pleased to introduce 5 key members of our leadership team that will each share the trend they find most important to understand as an independent consultant. Their diverse positions and backgrounds will provide a wide range of viewpoints. You will hear from Jean, Asia, Jay, Dennis, and Jonathan. If you're unfamiliar with MBO Partners, our key mission is to make it easy for independent consultants and their clients to work together. We achieve this goal by taking care of all of our consultants' back office needs, such as expense administration, business insurances, contract negotiations, and taxes. We also provide a personal business manager to assist you with any of your needs. So without further ado, let's begin the webinar. Our first contributor is Gene Zano, President and CEO. Let's hear what he has to share with you.
One of the most important trends for independent consultants is the recognition that the consulting world and the services economy in general has moved more aggressively into what we call the project economy, where work is broken up into smaller bits of pieces of projects and distributed out on a more solutions or statement of work basis. I think there's several factors that are driving this. One, companies are looking to buy something that has a more definable deliverable. Also, it's less of a commitment to the company, less risk, and gives them more agility to be flexible and not have to commit to an internal resource or even an outside ongoing consulting resource. They can be able to adapt more to their needs, both economically and from a cost variability point of view, as well as from a capabilities point of view. So you have companies that want to are more inclined and more attracted to buying things on a project basis. Also, there's regulatory issues. It's very difficult today to really decipher what is really the difference between a contract worker and an employee. There's a lot of complexities around that. There's lots of issues, whether they're valid or not is not the question. That the real issue is that they exist, and more companies are realizing that when they are using a contract worker, there are risks related to that. One of the ways to mitigate those risks is for them to buy contract work more on a deliverable basis. It places more of a sense that it is truly a vendor and client relationship rather than a potential employer-employee relationship. So there's also regulatory and legal reasons and risk mitigation reasons for companies to want to work on a project basis, working on a statement of work and a deliverable rather than hourly. But I think most importantly for independent consultants is if they could start thinking about how to package their work up onto a more statement of work or deliverable basis in components. I actually think your billings and revenues and profitability will increase pretty dramatically. If you could focus on delivering the kind of work that you know how to do really well, and that you could package it and articulate that and put the parameters around that, and certainly if you've done it before, you know how to do it, you know what level of effort it will take for you to do it. Perhaps you could even leverage what you're doing with certain tools or even other outside resources to help you in the background. You will find that you will yield a higher hourly rate by working on a deliverable basis. So kind of the trend that I want to emphasize to the independent consultants that are listening to this message is really think seriously about how you could take the work that you're doing, or at least part of it, and try to cut it up into statements of work, try to put prices on those statements of work that give you a good return on your time, and also position it in a way where your clients can more easily procure that kind of work. And I would say try to keep them anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 segments, I think you'll find that from a budgeting point of view, that's also very valuable. Anything under $5,000, I think it's difficult to do on a project basis unless it's really very tactical work. Most of the independent consultants are doing more strategic work, so I would say on average you're looking at a $15,000 to $25,000 project, and I think that's a comfortable range. Hope this is helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. That was very enlightening. Now we're going to hear from our CMO, Asya Haq, presenting trend number 2.
I'd like to discuss a really important trend for independent consultants and small firms, and that is the rise of virtual marketing platforms and how virtual marketing platform strategies can equal real sales. The fact is that in today's global world where work is dispersed and sometimes work distribution is anonymous, every consultant and every micro firm needs an appropriate strategy to pre-market, or they honestly won't make the sale. So think about the old world of consulting. Here's how it worked, right? You trolled the networks, you reached out to colleagues and friends, and tried to find access to that one perfect prospect who you would then perhaps email, speak with via phone, and try to score that personal meeting that might lead to a project. You know what? That's still true. Nothing has changed in that formula except that in the new world, there's a little bit more that's added on the front end. And here's how I think it should work in order to take advantage of this new virtual trend as an independent. Think about all the aspects of the conversation you can have even before you pick up the phone for the first time, and consider how that conversation has to be relevant to your industry, to your niche, and to your own personal preferences. And think less about platforms and more about what are your goals and where is the conversation happening. Within your industry, is it happening on Twitter, LinkedIn? Is it happening in video, on social news like the HuffPost? Or in fact, is it private? Is it happening in forums like a golf gathering or a squash or tennis meet? Whatever the location of the important conversations is, find a way to participate in that social conversation. Don't think about being fashionable as in you have to be present everywhere there's a social platform, because that's not relevant. Think about, how can I add to the dialogue within my industry, such as on a discussion forum or in a LinkedIn group answering a question? Getting yourself in front of that potential audience much earlier in the sales cycle is the key, and it's never been cheaper or easier to do that, but there are ways that you can get it right versus wrong.